Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to understand corporate filings so you don't have to. Today we're diving into Lobo EV Technology's annual report, and let me tell you, it's a bit of a bumpy ride, like trying to ride an electric scooter uphill with a dead battery. We're seeing some financial turbulence ahead. Before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where we can discuss it. The big picture, Lobo EV, an electric vehicle company primarily operating in China, is facing challenges. While they had promising growth in sales, they swung to a net loss this year, and there's some serious issues with how they're keeping the books. First, let's talk revenue. The company took in about $21.2 million in 2024. Not bad, it is an increase from $15.5 million back in 2023. That's a 37% jump, so at least sales are going up and they sold more things. But here's the thing, it cost them a lot to make those sales. Their cost of revenue, meaning the direct costs of producing those EVs and accessories, also ballooned up to $18.30 million from $113.3 million. The cost went up roughly the same as sales, which isn't the best indicator. It tells us they were operating at roughly the same operating margin. After operating costs and taxes, the company actually ended up with a net loss of about $846,000, whereas last year they had almost $1 million in profits. Basically, all that increasing sales didn't trickle down to the bottom line. One thing that gets mentioned is how their sales are related from a small number of customers. For example, customer A makes 21.7% of their sales. If that relationship gets sour, that's 21.7% of their revenue just gone. It is the same issue with suppliers and purchasers, with one supplier accounting for almost 17% of all purchases. Basically, a similar position. If that relationship gets sour, they are in a bad situation. Now, depreciation and amortization. These are charges that account for the wear and tear of equipment and other assets increased. The company goes into more detail and says the main reason is because the value of their licensed software went down. The company increased their selling and marketing departments to keep up with the sales and everything around that. Salaries increased and there were more marketing expenses. In the general and administrative expenses, we basically saw that the company went from very low to very high in a single year. The numbers ballooned from around $500,000 to over $2 million. They cited costs more to do with being a public company as well as additional internal costs to improve efficiency. There are also transactions to related parties. It occurs throughout the filing that amounts related or were paid to related parties. Digging deeper into the deals, there's the convertible debt with interest rates that could climb up to 18% if things go south. That's risky debt that could get very expensive very quickly. What are the conditions that can trigger that? Speaking of going south, they go into a lot of risks. Let's talk defaults, missed dividend payments, which are discussed in other parts of this filing. It's not looking great. Let's jump to all the risks. They basically start talking about how they might lose money in the future, which is never something companies want to say. The company does say that auditors found weaknesses in the internal control over financial reporting. In plain English, they don't have enough people with the proper knowledge to do accounting, which makes it hard to trust the numbers. They are planning on fixing the problem, but it will take them time, and there is no guarantee it will ultimately work. This is one of those moments where you have to watch management closely to see if they succeed in their promise. They also talk about how they face a lot of competition. Companies like AMA Technology Group and Yadea Group Holdings are industry leaders with low-cost models that are hard to compete with. Furthermore, the company says that they rely on other companies' third-party logistics service providers to deliver everything, and any risk to that also presents a risk to actually fulfilling the demand that they hope to get. Now, in China, there are regulatory concerns regarding security. If they become subject to these regulations, they might become prohibited from selling. In the subsequent event section, which means the section discussing things that happened to Xata, NFT, and Iran T date, we can see that the business is changing. They sold 2 of their subsidiaries. As a summary, their sales are rising, which is good, but profitability is not. And the company recognizes serious challenges for the future, which is something you want to see, to have management know and understand where the risks are. Alright, that's our breakdown of Lobo EV's latest filings. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Will they be able to turn around and ride off into the sunset? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description for more discussion. Thanks for watching. See you next time.